Now, there's a year-on-year increase in children going missing or being kidnapped in the country. This is according to the NGO Missing Children South Africa, who are urging parents and communities to be vigilant and report any suspicious individuals immediately. Bianca van Aswegen, National Coordinator for Missing Children in South Africa, joins us now to talk about this. Bianca, good evening, and thank you very much for your time tonight. You're saying your organization is seeing a yearly increase in this type of cases of children going missing or children being kidnapped. Please do give us the numbers that we're talking about here, but also what do you think is behind this increase?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. Unfortunately, we do not have statistics at the moment, but as you mentioned, us as an organization, Missing Children South Africa, see an increase in cases each year. And it's very concerning of the amount of children that are being or are going missing for various reasons. But I think also with us as an organization, we do a lot of awareness around educating parents and children. So I think the increase of cases is due to people knowing now what to do when a child goes missing. More children are reported as missing to our police stations, to us as an organization, and that's very important because the first 24 hours to 48 hours when a child goes missing is our golden hours, what we call it, and it's very important to report it immediately to your nearest police station.
And of course, the big cases that we are seeing and that make the media are those cases that unfortunately end up with other kids losing their lives or being abused, or we just never really hear what has happened to those children. But what is the recovery rate, the success rate out of those who are reported within 48 hours?
Well, we as an organization have a 77% success rate when finding our missing children. Unfortunately, the 23% is children that either have not been found yet or either found deceased. But we've definitely seen an increase also in cases where kidnappings are happening, and unfortunately, as we've seen in the media of late, children being brutally murdered.
Now, Bianca, talk to me about whether or not there is a link between the missing kids and the kidnappings rising and the rise in human trafficking that we are seeing generally, especially now in this time of the pandemic, which is in itself bringing a lot of questions as to what is the link.
Yes, let's look at kidnapping as a whole firstly. The definition of kidnapping, plain and simple, is taking someone without their consent. Now, behind these kidnappings, there are different motivations, such as human trafficking, opportunistic kidnappings that happen, family abductions, even trafficking or kidnappings for ransom demands. So we've seen the different types of kidnappings that happen for various reasons. When we look at human trafficking, yes, that is a worldwide problem, not just a South African problem, but worldwide. But unfortunately, there's only a small percentage of victims that are ever found for human trafficking that's been taken for human trafficking. So it's very difficult to say how many of our children that are still missing are actually human trafficking victims.
Now, let's look at the couple of cases here. We've got this case, the 24-year-old appearing in court tomorrow. This happened here in Johannesburg at a pizzeria. It was in broad daylight. It was at a restaurant. It is the restaurant owner, actually, with his training that assisted, including the security. You look at the Durban teenage girl who was nearly snatched. She's 15 years old. It's the neighbors that assisted. You look now at the situation in Orange Farm. Those two children were actually going to a salon when they came and they were coming back from there. These incidences are happening in broad daylight, in the glaring view of the public. What does it say then about the psyche and the thinking of these kidnappers at this time?
Yes, this is very concerning when stuff like this happens, especially in broad daylight, as you mentioned. I think this is also a big wake-up call to our public, to our parents, to be more vigilant about what's going on around them. And also, children should not be walking in the streets alone. Unfortunately, these days, it cannot be allowed. There's a lot of things that play a role to all of this. All these cases, unfortunately, are still under investigation, so we can't comment on them. But it should be a wake-up call, as I said. It's very concerning what's going on, and we need to educate our children from a young age on how to keep themselves safe.
In the number of cases that you're dealing with, are these opportunistic kidnappings or are these well-orchestrated, planned kidnappings where the kidnapper would know the family, know their financial situation, if there's a ransom demand, and so on and so forth?
Each case differs from the other. But we have seen in the majority of cases that we deal with that the perpetrator is actually known to the victim. So people need to be very vigilant of their close group of friends, whether it's a person in the direct community, whether it's a family member, whether it's a family friend. They really need to start being more vigilant on their direct people in the vicinity. And that's actually quite the scary part, because we always teach our children stranger danger. But unfortunately, that is not the case anymore. Yes, a small percentage are still strangers that take the chances in kidnapping our children, but usually the perpetrator is actually known to the victim.